hugsa þannig að hann fyrirgist hérna, það verður fyrirgist fyrst Pýramidda mikla og boðskap hans og síðan tökum við Pýramidda pásu og síðan hérna kemur hann aftur upp og hérna það eru annar fyrirlestur Opinbernarbókina og hérna því að það þeir sem hafa bæði og opin vita það náttúrulega við erum á síðasta tíma, enda tíma. En hérna slökk á símum sem gefa góða slökk og hérna og síðan með spurningar að þá komum spurningar bæði lóð hvers fyrirgestur sig og hérna Bömke Þórðarsson stjórnar menningarnefndin, ég býður þið bara velkomin.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is really a pleasure to welcome Mr. Fred Binner to Iceland and have the opportunity to listen to him and his great knowledge about the pyramids and the Book of Revelation. I think I was known to Icelandic, but Fred forseti the British Institution of Pyramidology. Hann hefur helgað megnin af sinni ævi að fást við að rannsaka Pýramiddan mikla, Pýramiddan, og alveg hafsjó af fróðleikum Pýramiddan. Og eins og Erlingur sagði hérna, þá fáið þið tækifæri að hann tala til að spyrja, heyrið í mér.
Það væri betra að tala í hátalara, mikrofóni.
Þá fáið þið tækifæri til að spyrja hann hér á eftir og skjóta einhverju inn í þegar þið viljið. Það sem hann hefur að segja, hann er svo margir hérna sem að vita mikið meira þetta mál en ég. Ég hérna bara í fyrsta skipti eins og þið og beðin óverður að segja örf á orð áður að hann byrja. En það er mjög merkilegt sem hann með það náttúrulega í fyrsta lagi þessi ótrúlega talnafræði sem hann kemur fram í sambandi við Pýramiddan mikla. Og þetta virðist vera þau hugsa hvernig tölurnar ganga upp með hæð Pýramiddans og stærð grunnflatarins og allt í sambandi við það og tengsl þessara stærðar við stærð jarðarinnar hann þegar yfir þetta allt með ykkur. Við talum ekki lengdirnar sem hann fer yfir þegar við skoðum hliðarlengdir í grunnfleti Pýramiddans þar sem að hægt að mæla þetta eftir mismunandi áralengdum. Við þekkjum það að við erum hérna saman hvað árið var langt og því hvernig við sögum á Íslendingabók Þorstein Sult þegar hann lét bæta við sumaraukanum á Alþingi og allt það. En það voru 3 aðferðir til þess að mæla lengd ársins. Þeir eru með mikið þannig að þeir reikna þetta í einhverjum Pýramidda þunnlokum og síðan mæla þeir þunnlokana í vegalengdum og hver þunnlokum svarar til dags í árinu. Þetta sem er inngangur til að þið átti ykkur betra orðað að ræða. Og síðan náttúrulega það sem að hann heldur fram að Pýramidinn sé Biblían í stein, Biblían í grjóti, hræðslu og hann rekur síðan eftir geislagöngum og inngangi í Pýramiddana hvernig ártölin eru miðuð við vegalengdir í þessum göngum og fær ótrúlega tölur sem hann segir ykkur frá hér á eftir. Þetta svona pátæklegur inngangur eins og ég skil þetta til þess að aðeins að setja ykkur inn í hvað að ræða og þessar tölur sem eru jáfnvel reiknað út frá Opinbernarbókinni sumar. And now, Fred Binner, the floor is yours. Welcome.
I appreciate my good friend's kind introduction, and I'm very pleased to be here and appreciate the welcome and the invitation to introduce you a very interesting structure, a remarkable structure, the Great Pyramid Giza. There is some of the outlines of it, of the passage systems, and it's from from this we will see that there are various dates that we applied to it, and we shall return to that for some very interesting information that we might say is encoded in the structure. It's a wonderful mathematical structure, incredibly built, of course, and so we shall now begin to see a little more of it. The first thing I could say, is well known, of course, it might just be coincidence. We're going to look at the reason why this has been built, who built it, because it's such a remarkable structure. But first of all, one of the noticeable things, which was fairly obvious, that its orientation to the north was almost perfect. Now, of course, all builders, if they want to align their building up, will do so with instrumentation, and they're fairly accurate. And but this is so accurate that it either indicates a wonderful method of measuring or just good luck. So we'll have a look, we'll now proceed to see our next point. Just see if we can see something of the mind of the people who designed, not necessarily built, but designed this great structure. They used the pi, the ratio of pi, long before the Greeks discovered it and calculated it. They had it. That is remarkable. But more than that, they employed it. They built it into the structure itself, as you will see. We can see now, if I can just indicate, the height there is all tied in with the circle and of course the diameter of the circle, which gives us pi. Having done that, they determined the actual circuit of the square to match that circle. There it is there, which is given us a very peculiar angle. Did they want that angle, or was it just happened to be because they wanted to use pi? But that, we will discover, is crucial to the understanding of the pyramid. Oh, and perhaps, since it's a little technical, and I'm not a mathematical person at all, I really shouldn't be here, you know, because my mathematics is terrible. But I've been invited, and I think this is a wonderful structure now. I'm delighted to talk about it. But I'm going to ask my dear friend, no, not my dear friend, my warmest friend, good mate, to explain a little bit more correctly in Icelandic. Please would you help me?
Well. I try to explain it as I understand, right?
Yeah.
And ég ekki vissum auðvitað allir ná við þessum tölum sem hann að tala En það sem hann að segja, að það svo reglubundið samhengi milli plantarins á píramídanum og hæðarinnar. Og hann segir hérna, heyrið ykkur að ég stend hér, að hæðin í píramídanum, hún ákveðin þannig að ef að menn teikna hring sem hefur hæðina sem radíus, eins og hér sýnt, hæðin radíus í þessum hring, þá ákveða þeir ferhyrning hérna sem hefur sama flatarmál og þessi hringur sem hefur þetta svona, þar sem að hæðin og þið sjáið að þá þessi ferhyrningur dregin upp hérna, hann hefur ákveðið flatarmál og sama flatarmál og þessi hringur. Og þá fá þeir út hornið í Biblíunum sem að hérna það að segja grunnslöðurinn, hann sama grunnslöðurinn í ferningunum, þetta grunnslöður ferning, hérna píramidans. Skiljum við? Þetta grunnslöður píramidans og þeir draga hér ríkirning og hæðir við hérna píramidans ákveðin frá því jafnama fyrirting hérna og síðan draga þeir þennan hring hér og þegar þeir teikna þetta svona þar sem að grunnflöturinn ákveðin í samræmi við þennan fyrirting sem sama flatarmál á hringurinn að þá og setja svo hæðina þennan út á með þetta einkennilega hornmót. Og þá sjá þeir hvernig þeir eru að byggja píramídan, hversu háan má vera, það ábæðst sem þú leggur kannski að það að gera og svo tekur að halla upp með þessu horn. Þetta sýnir að þetta allt byggt út frá ákveðnum tölum og talnafræði að samhengi mikli grunnflatarins á píramídanum og hæðar píramídans ákveðið af þessum spurningum stærð flatarins og ferhyrningi og þá finna menn og reiknum hornin og þannig geta þeir byggt píramídan. Það sýnir sig og hann fer í það miklu betur og eftir að talnafræðin svona rosalega sterk á Egyptunum, hvernig þeir tengja þetta allt í tölum og þeir verða mjög vissa. You will be surprised when he goes along and there comes further in his lecture the relation between everything and the figures in mathematics.
Thank you. I didn't understand the word he said, but I know it was a better description because it's much longer than mine. Now we get down to some really interesting discoveries about this great building. Its position. It is remarkably positioned on the earth, but the implications, I believe, are even more remarkable. You will see we've drawn some cross lines just to indicate where the pyramid is. It's there's the pyramid. We've put these lines in here to indicate the actual and demonstrate the actual nature of its position. It looks as though it's on the 30th parallel. It's not. It's slightly north of that by 29 degrees and some arcs of seconds and minutes. We could ask a question, of course. Did they, like the orientation, did they try for the 30th parallel? Because it's an important parallel, of course. Or did they just miss it by a bit? I don't think that was the case at all. And it's very easy to explain this, I can say. Because now we can see there was a really genuine purpose for the position in this rather odd position. Not quite on the parallel. The fact is that the land mass here on the west is exactly equivalent to the land mass on the east. In other words, the builders have deliberately placed it there. Now that's fine. But another object we have to point out is that the land mass north of this position here is exactly equivalent to the land mass south of it. How did that happen? Did they know? I think they did, of course. Of course, you may decide, well, that's again, it's like the orientation, you may have had a good try at the 30th parallel and didn't quite make it, but by chance it hit upon a rather remarkable position. And it is remarkable, but there is a yet further remarkable matter we need to draw to your attention. I don't have a map for this because we need a globe to demonstrate it, but I'm going to draw a line for you where it would be on the globe. There is a line here. If we take a line here and take it right from that farthest point there, right across to the farthest point we can go, one straight line. It's the longest line you can draw on the face of the earth over a landmass without going over the sea. Did they know that? Or was it an accident? Were they getting lucky all the time? But that's an extraordinary feature, isn't it? That point is absolutely unique. Who would know that? How well the ancients knew it? Well, I think we can give you an answer to that, and it's a very interesting answer. And the one other feature we should mention is that in actual fact, this landmass here, the opposite side of the globe is entirely water. Now I'm going to stick my neck out and I'm going to make a prophecy here, a prediction, and that will make me famous if it works out. I don't have the ability to go on Mesquite or do anything clever like that, but I'm going to suggest on the other side of the globe is all water. And this is just my offering remember it now, because we'll all famous as I'm right. If we drew a line straight through the centre of the earth from that parallel directly down onto the other side of the globe, I'm going to say that it's in exactly the centre of the water area of the world. Now, if anyone is able to go out and measure, I'll be very appreciative. But that's a prediction, and if it comes true, we're all famous. Now we get down to measurements, of course, which is vital because it's all about measurements. But again, here's our globe, and we'll have a look at how the globe is measured. You can see, of course, that the meter, the French, they decided, well, we'll make a new measurement. That's typical of the French, isn't it? I mean, they say we'll show the British how to do it, but we don't. But we're both wrong. We're both wrong. The builders and designers of this wonderful structure had it right all the time. They had the right measurement. Now, we have to take just a step back now and a little time now to discuss measurements. In our earliest ancestors, of course, didn't have rulers or measures. They wanted to measure something, they would use a thumb wrist. Or they would use a cubit. They called this a cubit. It was a handy measure, and it was commensurate with their size. Or a foot. We all have foot measurements. Or a yard is a step. You can't step a metre. The French were on all straight away. But the time came when men became what we call more civilized, and they began industry, and they needed proper measurements. So they had to put the measurements down and begin to make an agreement. What is the size of this thumb breadth? We'll call it an inch. What is that? We'll call it a cubit, and we'll give it a specific measure we all agree on. Otherwise, commerce could not run ahead. And so now we have the thought now of inches, feet, and cubits being turned into measurements we all agree on. Now, the cubit, you'll see there, we have the cubit, it's 10 million cubits. Both of them are 10 million, because it's a handy round number, isn't it? 10 million. Now, first of all, I really ought to just take a little step back, pause a little, and just remind you that the cubits were divided, possibly arbitrary, but the cubit, what they call the royal cubit, they decided to divide it into 20 equal parts. And the same with the sacred cubit, which they used for special buildings. The Temple of Solomon was built into sacred cubits, and that again divides into equal numbers of 25. So that's 25 inches in our language, or 20 inches. In actual fact, because there was no agreement between the nations, and the nations that designed the cubit were ahead of anyone else anyway, they decided that was going to be their inch. It's slightly bigger than the British inch, or the English inch, or the continental inch it used to be. But that's because there was no communication. It was only a slight difference. So just to be clear, when we're talking about the pyramid, we generally speak about pyramid inches. It's the ancient inch. It's the original inch. But for now on, we'll just work in inches, just for convenience. So now we have two ways of measuring the earth. The ancient way and the French way. Now the problem with the French way is that the earth is not entirely spherical. It's not perfect. That's one problem. It's, when they divided it up into 10 million parts, it's not even commensurate with our body size, because we can't step conveniently a metre. We can step a yard, or we can measure feet. The ancients have given us a measure that is commensurate with the earth and with our own physical frame. what they did, and this is what we've done. We, of course, they have divided that into inches, and we have now, 10 million cubits. That's 25 inches. And that is the sacred cubit. And the point is, of course, that they've taken the proper line. That line there, it could be anyone's nation. I mean, because the British, of course, we got in there first as far as the position of Greenwich Mean Time and the Greenwich Line, and we decided we measure through Greenwich, and we bagged it, we claimed it. The French were a bit miffed about that, and when they decided, we will design a scientific measurement. That's what we're going to do, and we'll measure the Earth. And of course, they would have liked to have it running through Paris, but we can't. We've got it going through England, and that's too bad, isn't it? So that is the situation. But the ancients, you see, took the right line because it goes around the centre of the globe, and that's universal to everyone. It's universal to every nation, and it's universal to every person. And I think that's rather marvellous. So we continue on. Now we come to that peculiar angle again. Now we begin to discover why it's there. And now it gets very, very interesting. And you'll see, of course, the pyramid, and that, of course, represents the sun. And we now, of course, have a height, and we also have a measurement now for the height of the pyramid. It's 5,449 pyramid inches, but we're going to say inches just for convenience. That's the height of the pyramid. And it's the height of the pyramid because that's the angle. The angle was determined by the pi factor. So that angle is not peculiar. It is a funny angle, 51 degrees in minutes and seconds. But now we're going to find out why. And it really, now we're beginning to come to a point when we've got to ask ourselves, not only did they get lucky with all this, or did they, is it all by chance, or was there some other force or mind behind it? Because now we come to something quite remarkable. Now, in the past, there were various archaeologists measuring it. One of them was Flinders Petrie. His measurements his work was immaculate, and he's well known for that. He measured almost everything he could on the pyramid, and we're indebted to him for all his measurements, which we know are accurate. But he was there with his father, who was an archaeologist, and he was helping him. And he was climbing up the Aris angle. That's this angle here. It's most people, if you ever go to the pyramid, you want to climb to the top, and you're very welcome to do so. It's harder up the face because it's steeper. It's slopes more, it's a smaller slope, easier slope up the Aris angle. So naturally, William Petrie is climbing up. Now he's a mathematician. This would never occur to me because I'm a mathematician. But as he was climbing up here, he realised that every 10 feet he travelled up the angle, he rose in height 9 feet. Every time he walked 10 feet up the angle, he'd risen 9 feet vertically. Only a mathematician would pay attention to that. And he realised, for his own good reason, that is 10 represents 10 to the power of 9. And now, if you want me to explain what that is, I shall have to have my good friend over here. But it's a mathematical thing. It's really 10 followed by 9 zeros. It's a big number. And he probably, whilst he's climbing, because he was a very confident mathematician, he probably did a figure in his head. He measured that number by that number there. The two numbers multiplied, and he gave a number. Ignore the word miles there. You think of that as a number. That's the number he worked out in his head as he was climbing up. It is 91,651,673 inches. And then he says, wait a minute, that number is the equivalent to the distance to the sun from the earth in miles. There it is, the same number, in miles. The pyramid, built in because of the pi factor, and that, of course, dictated the angle, and the angle dictated this figure, the distance to the sun. Now we're getting into something really remarkable. Really is. Did they know the distance to the sun? I mean, the Greeks later on measured the earth. It's a fairly simple process to measure approximately the circumference of the earth. The Greeks did it by measuring a small sector and looking at the shadow of the sun, which was different, like that. And then if you do a sum of two angles and the distance, and you could work out pretty accurately the diameter of the earth. Distance to the sun, different story, isn't it? You can't walk a little distance and measure it and say that's a factor of a millionth and that's the distance to the sun. These, the designers, not necessarily the builders, and I'm going to come to that shortly. The Greeks worked out the diameter of the earth. They had no idea of the distance to the sun. There's no way they could do. And the Egyptians were not any more able. There was a people. We're going to use that word now for want of just at the moment a better description. There's someone or somewhere this information was available, and it was built into the pyramid. That's quite extraordinary. So there we have something we're going to have to explain. So we'll take our next stage. Now, here again it's measurements. And this, when we factor this in, that's a nice mathematical word, isn't it? Factor it in, we'll find again more information. The more measurements we look at, the more comparisons, the more amazing this structure is and becomes to us. Now we're going to have to do a step back a little, take our time, and do a little bit of description for you. And do you want to come in and see Wood at this point? I'll cover it, and then I think I need a bit of help in Icelandic in this point. I'll call you later, shall I? Or would you like to come in earlier?
Maybe if I understand it right.
You want to go back? Go back. Yeah. Can you go back? Were you explaining that thing?
This one?
Yeah.
Já, þarna hann að skýra sko að hæðin á píramidunum, hún hefur alveg náið samhengi við fjarlægðina til sólar. Það að segja að það þessi hersir, þessi hersir, það kom út.
Yes.
Yes, þessi hersir, þá sem að sýndi fram á rafsegulbylgjurnar eftir formúlu Maxwells á sínum tíma, eðlisfræðinni, að þá er að sýna fram á hæð við píramidans sem 10⁹, sé nánast vegalengdin til sólarinnar. Þannig að skýra út að í alheiminum þetta talnakerfi allt saman svona mikið samanbundið. Ég sko, ef við haldið svona með litlu eðlisfræði sem að ég kann að massi sólarinnar, massi jarðarinnar sem þetta háð radíusnum, með ákveðna eðlistíð, að hann myndi ákveða fjarlægðina frá sólinni vegna viðflottaaflsins. Þannig að það sé ákveðið samhengi milli fjarlægðar jarðarinnar til sólarinnar yfir í sko stærð jarðarinnar. Og það er það sem að Hessel hefur verið að sýna fram á, og hann dáist mjög hvernig hann fann út úr því að ef hann gekk upp, eða gengur hérna upp, þetta er náttúrulega lengst að vera upp á hérna píramidinn en hann þarf upp. Það er eftir lengra þetta og það hér, því að vangliðin er lengri hérna en hæðin hérna upp, að þá verður, ef hún fær 10 metra upp, þá hækkar hæðin að skýringin á tengslunum milli fjarlæðirna til sólarinnar og hæðarinnar á píramídanum. Og það virðist svona ýmsuleyti mér sýnist þessum útreikningum að þeir hafi byrjað á ákveða hæð píramídans með það sem við sáum áðan og síðan fjallað svo grunnflöt píramídans miðað við og hann hafi sama flatarmál og flatarmál hrings sem hefur hæðina sem radar. Þá fáið þið allar stærðirnar upp og þetta undarlega horn sem var rúmar 51 gráður.
Thank you. And I'm going to need more help. I'm not good on Icelandic, unfortunately. But now we're going to take a step back now and look at the actual perimeter once again and see how it was measured. Now there are two places it's possible to measure it from. These are called casing stones. They've all been stripped away. When you see a picture of the Great Pyramid, it's just core masonry. But it was covered with beautifully cut, high quality limestone, and it was beautifully made, beautifully fitted together, and very smooth, and a remarkable achievement technically, but it gave this line here. That perimeter is smaller than this one here. The point about this one here at the rock level, it's on a platform of limestone. Down here, you'll see that line there, it's the socket floor level, because the pyramid is sitting on 4 sockets. Now, Pietzi's mind, he measured from the socket level. Petrie measured from the, not illogically, from the casing stones, which weren't there, of course, but there were a few left, and they could calculate what he measured from the casing stone, which they would have thought, well, that's a finished object. Pietzi's mind realised that wasn't the intention. He found 4 sockets cut into the rock, foundation sockets, and he measured from them. And as you can see, they're out here. There's a discrepancy of 16.5 inches. That makes a big difference to the circumference. The point that we're raising is that this isn't so important. The circumference of the pyramid marks out the length of the year. Now we should look at it. There it is. This is a schematic drawing from the top showing you how this measurement works. Now, you think, well, anyone can measure the length of the day. They're not going to be too clever. But whoever designed the pyramid, measured the day precisely. And I mean precisely. Because there are 3 different measures for the length of the day. That surprised me, and I'll be quite frank, I can't quite understand the difference. But the difference is there, and it's measurable, and it's here, and I can now show you. We'll just look at it a little bit more closely. There we are, that gives a little bit easier to look at it. Now, there are various lines. Now, there's the socket line, yeah? And it goes all the way around. There are 4 sockets. There's 2 sockets, one at D, one at C. That's a measure. And there we have it. We've got AD because it's up there, but AD is 365.242 sacred cubits, the number of days in a solar year. We'll come to that in a minute. I've got to admit, I'm not quite sure the difference of the different years, but there are 3 ways of measuring the year. I mean, that surprised me when I found that out, and I think it might surprise you. You think there's only one way of measuring the year. There are 3 different measures. But they only disagree with each other by a tiny fraction. They're not measurable without scientific instruments, but they're measured here. There they are. Then there's another line. Now, we'll have to describe why this line here is as it is, AEFB, which is actually the same as this one here, which is that one going up through here to... I'll take this one here, first of all. That is the sidereal, the anomalistic view. We'll take that one first. This represents the casing stones in place. This is the core masonry. This is the socket level. So that gives you the 3 positions. The reason that little D is there is that if you take that dimension there, that's the depth, average depth of the core of the casing stones. And so that gives you a point to measure from. So that measurement there is a valid measurement from there to there to there, and we have 365.259, a difference of a hundredth of a minute. But it's there. How could even now we have different measuring? And then, of course, we have the sidereal here, and that's because the core masonry is being fitted in a rather unusual way. It's a good way, and the building expert here would tell us that that's a good way of building it to support it, because these little handles, you can see the handle out, they're really like buttresses. That buttresses it. So it's a sensible way of building a heavy structure, because this is a heavy structure, believe me. It's probably still the heaviest building in the world. And so we have this measurement here, and we've got it written here, and it's unfortunately not there now. AEFB is these 4 measurements, and it's this line which goes like that, and then like that. That makes it a slightly line. And so there we have it, and it now reads 365.256 sidereal here. Now, I think I can understand the idea just about. It's taken, now, just to explain a little why there are 3 different years. The sidereal year is if you take a line of sighting on the stars, and you wait, you take a whole year, and it comes round, and when you come looking at exactly the same line of the stars, that's a year. Obviously, it's gone round the year. It's a sidereal year. I'm going to leave that description there because it just demonstrates there are 3 different ways of measuring the year, and they only vary by a few hundredths each. How did they do it? It's there, and just look at it. I know this is an expanded kind of diagram, but that's the principle. They're the measurements. They exist. You can go there now if you want to take the trouble and take the measurements. So you have to have a very careful, good ruler with you, because there's not much difference. Believe me. But PFC, Smythe, and Petrie especially, measured these very accurately. The ancients, the designers of this building, knew the sidereal year, the anomalistic year, and we can't explain it, but they're there. This is as hard and solid a fact as the building itself. That great pile of masonry is solid, unmovable. Those measurements are solid and unmovable. Now, I'm going to ask you again for a little help with the Icelandic. Could you again help me, please? Good?
Já, ég skal reyna að skýra þetta út. Fyrir mér þetta nú einna mesti leyndardómurinn í öllu þessum tölum sem hann að tala Því að við þurfum að hafa í huga að við reynum að skilja hvað hann að segja að þessir fornu byggingameistarar sem að byggðu píramídana, þeir tengdu saman lengdarmælingar og dag. Þessi eining sem að þeir notuðu, hún þýddi 1 dag þegar þeir mæla og það kemur held ég oftar fram hjá hann. Hann getur mælt lengd og þá finna þeir út hvað hún í dögum, í dagafjölda. Nú, þessi bygging hún þannig á píramídanum og hann að sýna það, sokkvöld, það náttúrulega sökkvöldin og við þekkjum alls sem við verið að byggja, flestir Íslendingar var byggt, að við með sökkvöld undir veggjónum bygginguna sem oft nær út fyrir. Píramídarnir eru kannski bara stærstu mannvirki sem hafa verið byggð á jörðu. Þannig að þessi lína hérna, hún frá sökkvöld, ytrirbrún sökkvölds að ytrirbrún sökkvölds, ef ég skrifa með. Þessi lína hérna, hún mæling á grunnstætti píramídans þegar að casing á honum, það að segja að það var klæðning utan á steinunum sem við sjáum ekki núna. Hvít klæðning sem að klæddi píramídan, en mér skilst að henni allir verið stolið, ekki? Jú. Og hún farin, þannig að við sjáum hann ekki núna. En klæðningin var í hérna. Hér komum við síðan að sjálfum píramídanum eins og hann í grunnfleti eins og við sjáum hann núna. Það sem hann að segja það að þegar þeir mæla þessar lengdir, hérna þessa hliðarlengd á píramídanum, þessa hérna af klæningunni, þetta sökkulengdin og þessa þegar búið að taka klæninguna. Þeir mæla þetta í þessum píramída einingum sem hann að tala og breyta því síðan í ár vegna þess að hver eining svarar til 1 dags í ári. Við vorum með 365 daga í árinu, við veitum við að það á lítið, það 365 og hvað cirka 1/4 það ekki, þess vegna höfum við hlaupárið, þar sem við bætum því við 4 hvert ár til að fá þennan auka dag. En árið í stjörnufræðinni mælt á 3 mismunandi vegu. Þið munið kannski eftir í Íslendingabók þegar Ari segir að Þorsteinn Surtur kom með tillöguna sumaraukan og menn fóru að lengja árið og reikna þetta allt saman. Það sjást margir hérna sem kunna þetta miklu betur en ég. Ég bara fjellst á og þeim kallar á mig að reyna að skýra þetta úr. Að þessar mælingar eru mismunandi eftir í hvernig þú reiknar þetta. Í fyrsta lagi það sólarár sem tíminn sem jörðin að fara einn hring í kringum sólina. Í öðru lagi það sem kallar sideral ár sem mig myndi nú að væri tengt umferð mánans í kringum jörðina og síðan það sem hann kallar þarna, hvað heitir það? Anomalistik hér sem ég kannast nú ekki vel við en hann skýrir út að það þannig að það frá því að jörðin við tökum stefnuna á ákveðið stjörnumerki og þegar við komum nákvæmlega í sama stjörnumerki að þá séum við komum með þessa vegalengd ársins. Það eru hreyfingar í himninum sem að breyta því þannig að þetta verður ekki alltaf sama mæling. Við miðum yfirleitt sólarár. Það ekki mikill munur á þessum árum. En það sem að kemur mér mest á óvart að þegar þeir mæla þessar lengdir nútíma stærðfræðingar og eðlisfræðingar og þekkja hvað hver eining þýðir í dagafjölda. Þá finna þeir út nákvæmlega þessar lengdir. Dagafjölda í hverju ári miðað við hvað blindast alltaf hérna af ljósinu, miðað við hvaða sökkullengd lengd klæðningar eða sjálfs píramídans þeir að mæla og fá þeir út þessar vegalengdir sem þarna eru og nútíma menn með bestu tækjum hafa mælt og fá út. Og það ekki mikill munur á þessu en þeir fá út þennan mun með þessu mælingum. Ég hélt áðan að hæðin í píramídanum væri ákveðin í byrjun og síðan tækjum við flatarmálið út frá því og þetta, en þarna komið að grunnflötur píramídans, hann bara dagafjöldin í árinu og það passar allt saman, sökkullir með klæðningunni og svo aftur þegar búið að taka klæðningunni við þennan mismunandi dagafjölda. Fyrir mér þetta bara algjörlega leyndardómur hvernig þetta gert þetta á þessum tíma því að þó okkur sé sagt núna að píramidinn, Keopspíramidinn sem hann að tala Great Pyramid, að hann sé 2540 ára gamall eða 50.
Meira.
Er það?
Já.
Hvað segir þú?
Ekstra á milli 4.000–5.000 ára, en það segir samt ekki saman, gæti verið meira, en þeir eru búin að því eftir, hann mælir inganginn. Það var 2142 ár frá eftir fyrir Krist.
Já, ok, en sem sagt, nú komin kenningar það að þeir séu miklu eldri. Píramidinn miklu eldri. Þið sjáu það á Google eða farið inn. Og þá spurningin hvernig gátu þeir fundið þetta? Þessar nákvæmum mælingar og hvernig getur verið þetta passa saman. And then my friend Fred says, this is divine mathematics, they have it from the Lord. I don't know the Lord very much, but maybe that is right.
Thank you.
Breta, she is asking for explanation why this line is leaning upstairs and giving this point here.
That's the average thickness of the casing stones. If the casing stones were put right round into the same way, they'd come to here. To make it like the buttressing effect, but of course it goes straight across. So it's just the fact that shows the depth if the casing stones had been fitted like that.
Þannig að segja þetta hangi saman við klæðninguna og þetta sem ég að á klæðninguna. But then you were saying that the pyramid itself has a meaning like this.
The core, showing the core, will have this shape.
The
core makes it. And of course, if the casing stones had followed that, you would have given that measurement from there to there.
So this is the actual length of the pyramid.
Of the core masonry. That's the actual length from the casing stones. That's the important measure from the sockets.
But you're saying that the stone blocks of the pyramid will not have a straight line?
Nei, hann innhverfur.
Hann innhverfur. Það það sem hún að spyrja að í raun píramídinn innhverfur, hvað kallum við það? Hlað, ekki? Og beygir hérna inn. Hins vegar klæðningin þá minnst eftir þessu. Þessar línur þá dregnar miðað við meðaldi klæðningarinnar og hann svona leggja út af öllum lengdunum. Ég vissi ekki að píramídinn hefði ekki beina inn. Hann væri svona inn.
Það sést í ákveðnu ljósi.
Það kom ekki ljós.
Það koma línur upp á miðjum.
Já, hefur verið þarna?
Já.
Já, ok. Þú veist ekki með lífum. Ég veit sáralítið, ég bara reyna að skýra það sem hann segir, kannski minnskilja mig með því sem hann að segja og þá fá við nú góðan sannleik út af því, en ég að reyna.
En innfellingin kemur ekki ljós en það kanningunum var stólið af. Þá fyrir að sjást að hann innfellur við og þá kemur þriðja mæleiningin á dagafélaginu.
You see, people need explanation. But this was this is remarkable. And for me, I was a time teacher in astronomy in a college in Iceland, and I can't understand how they could find this.
Thank you. The speaker likes to know his audience is listening, and you are listening. Thank you. Yes. Now, I'm going to introduce you to the designers, or at least some evidence they've left. It wasn't the Egyptians. The Egyptians didn't design this. They got the design somewhere else, but they didn't know these measurements. Unless it's extraordinarily accident that they actually constructed it in this peculiar way. My proposition is one, there was an ancient civilization that understood this, and two, since my good friend has put me on the spot, I think it's divine. You've got me in trouble now, so you but I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, I think that behind this has got to be a superior intelligence. All right, let's go slowly forward and assume, as we have to, that there was a superior civilization, which is gone now, who knew the size, and I can demonstrate that because they left us some maps. That's amazing that these were found. And I'm going to introduce you to them, or to what they left us. That is a very interesting map. It's not, you wouldn't say, well, that's a perfect description of the world, but that came to light in the 16th century, before anyone apart from the Vikings, a sail even got to the Americas. You see that? That's South America, the east and west coast. That's Antarctica. And that's Africa. Because it goes around the globe there, that's the other part. Someone, well it can't be some person, some powerful civilization able to, with the finance and the shipping and the ability to fully measure and map the entire globe must have existed, because this is not the original. And we'll again cover that a little bit more carefully. We know this is not the original because you can see the person that put that map together didn't really know what he's doing. We'll look at that in a minute. This is a better map. It's not the best one. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the best one I have on. But this is the nearest to it. And you can see the same thing again, South America and Africa. Well, they could have measured Africa. What civilization sailed around into the Pacific Ocean and measured the western seaboard of South America and North America? I have a better map than that, which shows, again, whoever put that map together wasn't as good as the one that put my other map together, which I would have liked to show you. But I want to tell you now about another map. I don't need to show it. They're difficult to see, although they're amazing, because that's the globe measured before anyone, as far as any civilization ever that we know of, sailed around the world. But the map I want to mention now is called the Pýramidinn map. It came from Turkey. It was actually presented to the American government in 1929. The Turkish people wanted to integrate with the West, and they thought this was a good idea, and they've got in their archives an ancient atlas of America. It certainly was only the eastern seaboard of North and South America, but it was there. But what we also have with this one, is why I don't need to show you, is that the person who put it together told us a little bit about how he did it. And he knew a bit more about what he was doing. His name was Pýramidinn. He was Admiral Pýramidinn of the Turkish government in the 1500s, long way back. And this map, now he made this at that time, so we can date that map. But he never sailed to America, not that we know of, not at that time. But he tells us how he got the map, or how he produced it. He said, I've made this map, and there's not another map in the world like it. He knew what he was talking about. I made it from 20 other ancient maps. Think of that. In the 16th century, he has in his possession ancient maps going right back in time. And he put them together. There were 20. Now, there's a connection here. He's a seaman. And we don't do it now because we've got satellite navigation, but the day was when a ship was sailing through over the Atlantic, they needed charts. And of course they didn't have a big chart like that because it all gets distorted, doesn't it? Now, that's not a bad map, it's just that it's distorted to fit the shape. It's a good map, a good atlas, even though it's not correct in some places. No, the problem with flat, turning round, curved shapes into flat, when you make it flat, it gets distorted around the edges, obviously. So in actual fact, you have to have smaller maps that don't show too much distortion. You can get around it by moving the lines of latitude and longitude, so you've got some points of reference. And the idea is you use a small map. When you sail to the edge of that map, and you've got that distance, you bring out another chart. And they're called chart rooms. In the ships, they used to call them chart rooms because they kept the charts there. So what Pýramidinn had was charts from the chart room of an ancient sea vessel. That's the conclusion. He was a seaman, and he calls them that. Who were the people? Who were the people that built the ships, financed it? What civilization was powerful enough to do this? And it's done. These are facts. They are solid as the masonry of that great structure. They're undeniable facts. And they go right back beyond any history we have. And so now we can ask the question. Where is that civilization? Where's it gone? There's the maps. The left maps. Well, my very dear friend who was there has suggested, put me on the spot now, because I do believe that not only were these people there exactly what the Bible tells us. There was a flood. These maps came over in Noah's Ark. Let's put it that way. That's the only way we could have got them. That civilization was swept aside by a massive, colossal deluge. That's why we can't find them. We find little bits of them. There are lots of little objects that we can't explain, but they're too insignificant and too spread out. But these maps are there. We can't get around those maps. So we're going to now take a little bit of time, we can leave that on, and put a little bit more evidence. You obviously see that I believe completely in Noah's as a Christian. But I also can demonstrate that there are still parts of that flood coming into the atmosphere now. I've got modern evidence for you of Noah's flood. Now, there was going to introduce you to another researcher. I've nothing, unfortunately, of his on film or on the pictures, but his name was Isaac Newton Vale. He was a professor, and his main study was the ancient legends of earlier civilization. Now, his work is entirely scholarly and very interesting, and I brought for my friends here, I brought a copy. It's in print, and later on, if you'd like to look at it, you can get your own, probably online now, but it's there. And just very briefly, he examined carefully and thoroughly all the legends of what men were actually describing in the sky. Gods, all kinds of things, the Titans. There was war in heaven. There was a great serpent going around the whole heavens. It was there, they saw it. Yeah, we just thought, well, that's mythology. It's not a myth. It's a legend. It's a record of memory. And the other day, in Iceland, I found a confirmation, and I couldn't believe it. I'm going to tell you about it. But I was explaining to my friends as we were about to prepare for this little discourse, and put the maps together. I explained about this research by Isaac Newton Vale. I didn't really, I heard of that as well some time back, and I've got to admit now to my carelessness. I'd heard about these maps. It's the Phineas Ontario map, the first one you saw, is in London. And I heard about it as a schoolboy. And I thought, well, that's very interesting. But like everyone else, I didn't do anything. And what can you do with the mysterious? You recognise they exist, and you have to put them aside. Nothing else you can do. There's many things in science like that, including the flood, because there are evidences of great inundations of ice and snow right in front of them, but they've been, I guess it's probably because we've got the Noah's flood that they don't want to get mixed up with the Bible. It's not scientific. And let me tell you, the Bible is entirely scientific. However, these descriptions are very interesting. And of course, what men were seen describing, they were the ones, the survivors. They were the survivors of the flood, and as they generated and became generations and nations, there were still remnants of what caused the flood. Isaac Newton Vale's theory was that there was a body of ice and water suspended above the heavens, circling round, held up by centrifugal force, like the rings, and he drew attention to that, the rings around the planets, and also like Venus. Venus has a canopy, it's moving, it's floating above the atmosphere, and it's moving and going round. So canopies can exist. Just scientists don't think that's likely for the Earth, despite the fact that other planets have rings. And also Saturn and Uranus has wonderful swirling masses going round, just as ancient man described this Earth, looking up under it. If we were on Saturn and we were looking up, we'd see exactly the same kind of thing as ancient man saw in their skies. But of course, this was ice and water. In giant planets, it's actually frozen methane. But it's doing the same thing. So canopies do exist. And I can now today give you a demonstration that it did exist and still exists. A little embryo of it is still left. The survivors of that great inundation grew and developed, but there was remnants of that same material still suspended.